We will see yet new odds on the Big 12 football and who a specific part of Vegas thinks will win the Big 12. It's changed a little bit in some cases, but with La Tech headed to the Sun Belt Conference and all the still constant changes, we mentioned the Mountain West Conference in their preseason poll, and they in the Pac-12, they're not getting along. And it's, what's going to happen here, Paul and Craig? Is this going to be another one where, well, I mean, Texas and OU, there was a certain number. They didn't have to pay that full amount. Florida State, North Carolina, Clemson, if they would have left, they weren't going to have to pay the full amount. They always end up, and they didn't leave, negotiating. What's going to happen here?
Well, you're talking about two different things. The argument at hand for the Pac-12 and the Mountain West is over poaching fees. You're talking about Texas and Oklahoma just getting out of their grant of rights and agreeing to leave early and coming to a settlement on that. And the Pac-12 and the Mountain West have tried to come to a settlement. They've had mediation, which was reported on. But the big hang-up is over these poaching fees that the Mountain West says that they deserve tens of millions of dollars because the Pac, after coming together for the scheduling agreement, and this is it's like messy and complicated. Like if you're on the Pac-12 side, if you're an Oregon State and Washington State fan, you think that anything and everything you're doing is perfectly fine and it's just business. And then on the other side, if you're the Mountain West, you think everything that you're doing is perfectly fine and it's just business, when both sides actually have an argument that the other side's trying to take advantage of the other. So
and have been taken advantage of themselves too.
So the basic gist of it is that the Pac was going to die. It had very little out there in front of it with just the two teams remaining and not a lot of answers about what the future held. And they needed some games on their schedule for a couple of years. And the Mountain West provided those games. Mm-hmm. The Pac-12 fan will tell you they provided those games at and I know this phrase is not the right phrase, but I'm using this phrase for that reason, dollars on the penny. So, you need help from these ocean waters. You need to be pulled on our boat. And it's like, as they start to pull you in, they go, that'll be $1,000. So, like they helped them. Yes. But at what price did they help them? At like the steepest price imaginable. And so from a Pac-12 standpoint, they're like, yeah, you helped us, but you also overcharged us out the wazoo. And so you guys aren't the good guys. And then on the Mountain West side, they're saying, you would have drowned if not for us. You had nothing. You had nobody to play. Like, we saved your ass. And so there's like that kind of a back and forth that's going on. But when they signed their original contract, there was a part in there about if the Pac-12 tried to take Mountain West schools. And in the contract, I guess, that was signed, there was very steep prices if the Pac-12 were to follow through and actually go and try to poach Mountain West schools. And so what did they do? They went and they poached Mountain West schools, and they took Boise, et cetera. And then seems like UNLV stuck around because they were given this promise about the money that they were going to receive, and they felt like that was a better deal than jumping to the Pac. So that's all been what's going on. And so now they're arguing about whether these poaching fees are, and have been arguing and have been mediating and have been trying to come to an agreement on whether the Pac-12 actually owes them any money for poaching fees, because the Pac-12 says that's not worth the paper it was written on. That's not actually even legally enforceable. Y'all are suckers, basically, and you signed that, but you should have known that that was never going to be enforceable the way that it was written. Whereas the Mountain West says, you guys walked in, agreed to the deal we gave you, signed the contract, and now you're saying that it doesn't matter. You can just take schools and pay nothing for them. Now, they're not paying nothing because there's still fees that you pay, but this is poaching fees.
Yeah.
This is poaching fees. So the Pac doesn't believe those are enforceable legally. The Mountain West obviously wants their money, and they have promised the UNLVs of the world of they're getting a percentage of whatever money they get. So that's important because that's part of why you've been able to keep them in your fold, right? So they can't come to an agreement, and now the courts have said that this is going to go further down the line, and there is the potential that it could go to court. Now, you would think they'd all be smart enough to try to avoid that at every cost, because I don't care how much money you have, and these aren't the Big Ten and the SEC arguing here. You don't want to pay all of your money in lawyer fees and keep this wrapped up, and it's already been going on for nearly 2 years at this point. And so that this lawsuit's been out there. It's $150 million in poaching fees. So you can see why that's important for both sides. But yeah, they tried to mediate it, couldn't come to an agreement. And now there's been a motion to dismiss by the Mountain West. And so basically what's going to happen is here in a couple of months, I guess they'll continue to talk or whatever. I don't know all the legalese, but in a couple of months, if nothing changes, they will be, I guess, in front of a judge and trying to figure out the next step of this and whether it does eventually get to the point of becoming a loss or becoming an actual case in court that they're arguing over.
Thank you for clarifying that. It's a lot deeper than my mind will ever comprehend, but I get what you're saying. It's different than if exit fees. The Mountain West, did they not add anybody?
They did, but they also didn't have a previous agreement with a conference that said that they wouldn't. Yeah. I mean, that's where it is. And so
it's like a moral thing at that point. Yeah. And the PAC's like, well, we got our throat slit, so now we're going to do some throat slitting, and that's what we can do. And so that's what's been funny is to see all of the people that bemoaned how the Big Ten acted or the Big 12 acted or whatever, and now they're doing the same thing to the Mountain West, basically. And I know that's how life works. It's like, oh, if I do it, it's okay. But their reasoning is, well, we have no choice. You forced us into this with that bad contract that you tried to, extort us for all the money that we had. And the Mountain's saying, well, no, we just gave you a schedule, and we asked for some pretty steep prices, but did you agree to it or not? You did. So it's all going to come down to the lawyers, like everything else, and it's been that way for a while, but now it's taken this next step of where they are clearly not coming to an agreement. So now you've got to go to this next phase, and we're not far off from them actually going to court and having to have a trial over this to see where the money goes.
I'm sure it'll be settled eventually. When it's suit, countersuit, the point is to get to a settlement number. But I mean, the numbers that the Mountain West is asking for is a lot, and the PAC doesn't really, have that right now. Or if they do,
well, they have that big treasure chest, Paul.
Treasure chest, but
all the money they got from the departing schools.
Yeah, but that goes away really fast.
It can.
Is that over a couple of years where they get all that money?
Yeah. I mean, so they have all that. So it is. But yeah, I mean, this is just, man. I can't wait till a day when we see conferences not fighting anymore. Like I can't wait for that day. Whenever that day is, maybe I'll be dead.
Gone.
Maybe I'll be dead. I don't know.
Well, the next time
I won't have to worry about it. But
when the next network contracts come up,
I mean, it's not a story that I care a great deal about, but it is one that I've at least tried to put in the time to kind of learn about what's going on. And by saying I don't care a great deal, it's not like a daily, like, man, what's happening now for me, or even a weekly thing. But I know for fans of those schools that it is. And so, that's where they are. And, I start to get into the legal terms, and that's where I sort of lose my way about like motions to dismiss and things of that nature. But I think that's something that we will hear about when they have their next meeting, which I believe is in the middle or the early part of September. So that's when I guess there will be more clarity if something doesn't occur before then. But there also is the broader conversation over the actual exit fees. So it's like $18 million, and Boise State and those teams are trying to like not even pay that or to lower that, which that's normal. So you want to lower that. Texas and Oklahoma lowered it. Everybody typically does. So I think that's one thing. But when you're trying to say of like, well, we're not paying any poaching fees, and you're talking about $150 million for the Mountain West potentially, you can see why this is tied up in court, because that's pretty damn big money for either side.
My brain hurts. But the great clarification, great opinions from both of you on that. It's more money for the attorneys, right? They just rake it. College athletics and legal fees, like the settlement where they get 800 million? Is that right? That the attorney fees are going to end up getting out of the $2 billion deal that it was. Before we go to the Big 12 poll or the odds,